So much of our suffering in life comes not from the experiences themselves, but rather all the labels and judgments that we pile on top of the experiences. And so let's say that you get a parking ticket, and so understandably, you might be angry and frustrated, but then you might start to pile on more judgments on top of this experience. And so you might say, for example, oh my God, that's so much money. How am I going to pay my rent? You might start judging yourself, saying, I can't believe this happened to me again. How could I be so careless? Why didn't I read the signs better? And on and on and on. And no judgment. I've been there myself. And so that's why I was so able to so easily come up with this example. And so to put it more broadly now, basically, suffering comes from resisting what is. And we think that whatever we're currently experiencing is somehow not good enough. And either we're just in a hurry to get to what we perceive as being a better reality, a better identity, or we think that whatever moment we're in is just intolerable. And notice how well, another very practical example is when you're at the doctor. And I noticed that when the doctors were doing like any sort of procedure and I would get anxious, I would tense up, and it would just make the experience like that much more uncomfortable and unpleasant. And then when I finally followed the doctor's instructions and just relaxed, like it was so much easier and it was so much smoother. And the same goes for our life experience as well. And so some practical ways of applying this could be simply just to pause when you find yourself going on what I like to call the frustration train, or the, sadness, whatever it is, whatever emotion it is that you feel is just overtaking you and consuming you, and you feel like you're losing control, and you start identifying and you start spinning in the stories and labels and judgments. And then it kind of, at least in my experience, it would kind of cause me to get into this perpetual fix-it mode, where I would constantly be wanting to fix things about myself and my reality. And even if I wasn't currently in distress, I was sure that there was some other problem hidden beneath the surface, one of those sneaky limiting beliefs that was somehow sabotaging me and somehow preventing me from, achieving the life of my dreams or whatever, or achieving all of my goals. And really, like, all of this was causing me to miss out on the beauty that had been right in front of me this whole time. And so people often talk about the flow state. And to me, I see the flow state quite simply as just letting the moments be, and just appreciating the moments for what they are, and just letting them pass, basically, just letting them merge seamlessly from one moment to the next. And if you find it very difficult to appreciate the moment that you're in, just trusting that it will pass. Because that's the thing about this reality, that the only thing that does not change is the awareness, the screen of awareness behind reality, but everything else eventually passes. And the thoughts, the feelings, those conditions that we think are so solid, whether it's a relationship issue or something with our jobs or our finances, or our bodies, like all of that will eventually pass. And so that's why they say in A Course in Miracles, hold on to nothing. And so I think it goes even beyond releasing, because releasing even is something that you still have to do, right? It's something that still takes some effort. But hold on to nothing basically is just that. You don't have to hold on to anything. So there's nothing it's just an invitation to relinquish all control, or all illusion of control, and the suffering that comes with that, And because the control is just like an illusion, right? That's why it ends up creating a lot of suffering, and just surrendering to the flow of God and to the flow of whatever is happening at that moment. And yeah, just being able to appreciate the beauty in every situation. And there's actually a movie, a new, or I guess a fairly recent movie that's called Flow, that I think is a perfect embodiment, a perfect illustration of the flow state. And it's a very aptly named movie. And so it's an animated movie about a cat. And there's no dialogue in the movie, which I really appreciate. There's no dialogue, no subtitles, nothing of any kind to guide or inform your experience. And I feel like this is just such a good way to approach life as well. And so you go in, so there's no like preconceived judgments, and it takes place in a world that is unlike any world that probably you or I would recognize. It's a world that's completely occupied by animals, and there's no, I don't believe there's a single human that appears in this world. And again, I appreciate that there's no explanation for why there's this world that's entirely occupied by humans and not by, I mean, by animals and not by humans. It's just allowed to be, exactly what it is with no explanation. And you see kind of some dinosaur looking mythological creatures, and then like normal looking creatures like cats and dogs, and it's all just kind of mixed together. And again, yeah, there's just no like explanation, which I really appreciate. And the movie, it starts out with a cat, and he catches a fish in this lake. And so for the cat, this is like a really big win. But then immediately this pack of dogs sees the cat with the fish. And so the pack of dogs starts to chase the cat, and the cat is forced to abandon the fish. And it's hard to describe the movie. My description doesn't really do it justice. It's one of those things you just have to see. But the movie is basically, I feel like it's really just kind of an illustration of flow and action, and that the cat finds himself or herself, I'm guessing it's a boy, but I'm not entirely sure, and all these really kind of crazy situations. And well, some of the situations are crazy situations, and then other situations are just kind of normal, calm situations. But the cat is really just kind of flowing from one moment to the next. And there's victorious moments, like the moment with the fish, and then there's scary moments, like when the dog, when the pack of dogs sees the cat with the fish. And then there's some really scary moments, like reindeer, I guess it's like reindeer or moose that are like stampeding, and there's floods and animals like falling down waterfalls and like flying through the air. And there's funny moments, there's mundane moments, but really it just kind of gets you, I don't know, even my descriptions aren't really doing it justice. I feel like it's basically just getting you, it's an exercise basically in appreciating the isness of reality and taking in each moment exactly for what it is, without putting any labels or putting any judgments on it. And the cat just floats very seamlessly through this reality. And even when the cat seems to be in great danger, it seems like he's always taken care of somehow. And I feel like that is a message for us as well, that we're always taken care of. And even though the movie, it might, there's no, other than the cat just kind of going on these adventures, there's no real, plot to speak of. And I think what it's trying to show us is that through all the seeming random and chaos of life, there's this beauty, and there's this integrity, and there's this divine love that's guiding all of it. And I felt that throughout the movie. It's hard to explain exactly. I felt this just kind of loving presence behind like every scene. And again, there's just so many, just kind of like there's a scene, where the cat and the dog and a monkey are all like in this boat together, and they're like basically manning the ship, and the monkey is fascinated by all these shiny objects, which I guess is a characteristic of monkeys. And but yeah, I feel like there's just kind of this integrity behind all of it. And there's one scene too, which I'm not going to give away, but I feel like what the scene is demonstrating to us is that even this physical transition is not really the end. It's just a transition. Like, that's it, basically. That's all there is to it. Just like all these things in life. And again, I've been there. A relationship ends, a job ends, and we think like my life is over. Like, I don't know how I'm going to move on from this. I don't know how I'm going to recover from this, but somehow we do. And then eventually that feeling of loss just becomes like a distant memory. And so I think that's at least that's what I took away from the movie is just kind of embracing the flow of all of it, of surrendering to this flow of God. And yeah, it's just a beautiful movie. I would definitely encourage you to check it out. And I'm sure there probably is some sort of deeper meaning behind all of it that maybe I'm not picking up on. And I have no doubt that there are film people on YouTube or wherever that are analyzing and dissecting all the deeper meanings of the movie. And I have a background in film studies myself, and I was kind of tempted to dig into that, but I was like, no, I'm just going to let the movie be, exactly what it is, just be an experience and not to try to layer any meaning on top of it. And I think once we kind of get to this point where we can kind of rest in this pure awareness and just this isness of reality, where we removed all labels, all conditions, like it has to be this way, and or else I'll be miserable, or else I can't feel good about myself, or whatever. We remove all the labels and the conditions and just all these kind of preconceived notions that we just kind of piled on top of our universe, our life experience, and just allow it to be exactly what it is. Then I feel like we can have that freedom to just kind of move around and create whatever it is that we want. And I'm not a huge fan of the term create, because it kind of implies one connotation of the word, right, implies like force and effort, but I'm talking about it more in the way of a writer creating a book, or the person who made the movie, creating this movie. And so just pure play is how I like to see it now, rather than this heavy feeling. And so when I first got into manifestation, there was this very heavy feeling for me, and I would sense it in a lot of the comments too, and just comments that I would see in these manifestation communities and forums, just like this heaviness, like it has to be this way, and I have to always be on my best behavior, and thinking my best thoughts all the time, being positive all the time, high vibe or whatever. And then if I let myself slip, then everything is ruined, and I won't get my SP, I won't get the money or whatever, and I'm just a failure. And that's how I felt for a long time. But now, when I'm really kind of starting to step into this I just see it as a much lighter, more flexible way of experiencing life. And once you get to that point, I feel like you can play around with it much more, and it's much more fun. It's much more a feeling of creation and play, and playing in your imagination, as opposed to just kind of holding everything with this iron grip. And I was thinking I have to control my reality. I have to be the god of my reality. And if things don't go exactly as I intended or affirmed or whatever, then it means I'm doing something wrong, and I have to go back and start all over again, climb the levels, all over again. And yeah, it's just not a fun way to live. And so this to me is a much more fun, much more expansive way to live. And that's really kind of what I'm intending to do with the free hero's journey narratives that I'm offering. It's not like this is the ultimate story of your life. It's like this is just one chapter in your life experience. And it's really just kind of getting you to play around in your avatar. And once you do that, I think you'll start to see just all these new possibilities start to open up for you. And underneath it, what I really want you to see is that it's all good and it's all God. And every single moment that's happening is perfect just the way it is. And even those thoughts and those feelings and those conditions that you may deem to be not so desirable, that there's a beauty and that there's a perfection behind these as well. And so anyway, I'll put the details in the description. And also, I would highly encourage you to watch the movie Flow. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.